All right. So if you want to be successful in anything, you need to have good form in thinking. As fitness and health professionals, we're all about training people to have good form with exercise technique. But really, at the end of the day, about 80% of success in anything comes down to mindset, attitude, and the thoughts. You know, when clients don't succeed, usually it's because they give themselves permission to not follow through, or they indulged in undisciplined thinking. So this is going to be all about how to turn, how to build the inner strength to turn pain into power, and how to develop your ability to emerge from stressful periods stronger, wiser, and more eager for what's next. So we're going to be going into the problem powerlifter handout, and I'm just going to share screen this right now for anyone who's watching the recording. So basically, this is a tool you can use for the rest of your career to have good form in thinking. And the reason is that problems in life never stop. So to develop good form at handling your problems is one of the most useful skills you can develop and commit yourself to in life. So the way to go through this is, for any problem, we just want to be able to describe it and what part of the problem is the problem. Then we could give it a score. What is it on a scale of 1 to 10? How much is it stressing you out? Just like weights at the gym, sometimes there's lightweight problems. A lightweight problem might be, oh, my dishwasher's not working, right? Then there might be like medium weight problems, like, oh, I woke up with a sore throat, no big deal. And then there's like heavyweight problems, like my pet cat went missing or whatever, right? So we want to be able to build up our strength and mental toughness to be able to handle some of those heavier weight problems, so that we can be our best selves moving forward in life. So we're going to go through 7 questions here. Why should we be grateful? How are things not as bad as they seem? How am I responsible? What are the obstacles? What help and resources are available? What are all the possible solutions? And what should we do? And after we rep those questions out to fatigue, the problem doesn't feel as heavy anymore. And then that frees us up to have more creativity, to be able to enjoy the moment more, to be able to be more focused on what we need to be focused on. The power with a system like this is the repeatability, that you can use this literally for any problem in life. Okay, the power's in the simplicity. It's just one little handout sheet. And then the power's in the results. So a lot of times you're going to experience either yourself or somebody you help with this. They might be struggling with a 10 out of 10 problem for like a year. And then you just sit down and help them process these questions, and it can become a 1 out of 10. I was chatting with a client a couple of weeks ago, and they were 10 out of 10 stressed about moving to France. Okay. They've been stressed out for almost a year about moving to France. We did this, and by the end of going through Problem Powerlifter, they were actually excited about moving to France. It wasn't even considered a problem anymore. But that was almost a year of suffering for nothing, because they didn't actually try to lift it. So part of what we can do to add value to clients and people we care about is to give them some correctives of perspectives, because a lot of times we might give people muscle correctives for a bad shoulder or a bad hip or back, but we can also give correctives of perspectives, because when people are stressed out, mental stress can become physical stress. Mental rigidity, mental tension can become physical tension. So it actually helps us do our job better. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take us through a quick example of how this might look. Okay. And I'm wondering if anyone can relate to this. Let's take a problem, and I want you to just imagine this. Imagine you got referred a client who has a really bad attitude. Okay. It's a super successful person. You know, they've been running major companies, but, you know, maybe a physio referred them to you and said, heads up, this client has a really bad attitude. You know, they can be negative and moody, and you're going to have to train them 2 times a week. Okay. So I want you to imagine that that is the stress problem or challenge. And then just write down how much that might stress you out on a scale of 1 to 10 right now, knowing that you're going to be spending 2 hours a week with this person who is considered negative and moody. Just write down your number right now, whatever that would be in the moment. You've just been given a heads up, like, from the physio, this is a problem client. All right. First of all, by show of hands, how many people can ever relate to this? Getting a client that was like super difficult. Okay, perfect. We've all been there. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to take us through the questions just so you can see how this is going to work out. Okay, the first question is, why should we be grateful? First of all, could things turn around? Yes or no? Yeah, they could. Why should we be grateful? Are we getting paid still? Yes, we are. We're getting paid twice a week, right? We should be grateful because at least we're not married to this person. You don't have to wake up next to a negative, moody person. You just have to see them 2 hours a week, right? Like, also, do people in bad moods help keep us humble? Right? It reminds us that we don't have it all figured out. There's a drive to keep improving ourselves. Also, should we be grateful because it's an opportunity to learn about somebody new? You know, they have unique experiences, they have unique wisdom and perspective that might benefit our own life, getting to know this person. And, you know, could having difficult clients give us motivational drive to fill up our schedule so that we can be more selective about who we take on as clients? Yeah, of course, right? So that's why we should be grateful. Does anyone else have an idea they want to throw out there on why we should be grateful in this situation? So let's move on to question 2 then, would be, how are things not as bad as they seem? Okay. First of all, can we still win them over? Yes or no? Yeah, we could win this person over. Are we going to die a horrible death from this? Probably not, right? It's really not that bad, even though we might act like it. And even if we can't win this person over and they're just going to be forever negative and moody, can we at least try to learn how to appreciate how they're like a real gold medal athlete at finding the negative in everything? Yeah, absolutely. We can actually learn to appreciate them in their negativity if we want. They can be like a Seinfeld character, right? Like, now the next thing we'd want to figure out, next question we'd go through is, how am I responsible, right? First of all, can we figure out what motivates them? Can we figure out what gets them into a good mood? We're responsible for both of those, right? Also, true or false, people treat you the way you train them to treat you. True or false? Yeah, so we can learn how to train people to treat us better and set healthy boundaries, right? Right. And we can also figure out all the things that put this person in a better mood. I'm using a specific example here because I had this situation. Okay. And the client that I had, one thing that put them in a better mood was meeting new people. So because they're a successful business person, anytime they shake hands, all of a sudden they put on this big smile and everything. So anytime they're about to get negative, I introduced them to one of the trainers, and immediately it flipped their state into a good mood. And then I would keep doing it and introducing them to people they'd already met because I was flipping them into that, you know, meet new people mode. And then eventually it became a joke. And then he and the trainers would kind of joke about how nuts I am. But at the same point, he'd be in a good mood. So it worked. But I was able to figure out, you know, that's what helps flip the switch on him, right? Also, we can figure out, what do they like? What are they passionate about? How many people here, by show of hands, when you get a new client, you ask them and you write down what their hobbies and interests are? How many people here? Yeah, great, great. So it's a key thing I find to try to cater the conversation to be more enjoyable for the client. I take it on as a personal challenge to learn more about whatever their passions and hobbies are to make the conversation more relevant to them, right? So in this case, this person was really passionate about tennis. So I think we did a cable workout, and they're also really passionate about old school TV because they were quite old. So I made them a cable workout, and they like the show Anne of Green Gables. How many people here have seen Anne of Green Gables? Yeah, okay. So I gave them a cable workout, and it was called Anne of Green Cables. And I put like a little logo of like a redhead with braids, and he loved it. He was like, this is my kind of routine, you know? And it was like a tennis workout, right? And we can also be responsible for making our positivity more infectious than their negativity. Okay, so that's how am I responsible. Anyone else have any ideas or suggestions on that there? Nope. All right, so let's go on to the next question. What are the obstacles? So in any problem, we want to learn what are the obstacles here. So one obstacle is we don't know how to uplift them yet, maybe, and shake them out of that negative mood. One obstacle might be learning how to help them out with their aches and pains, in this case, a shoulder problem. One obstacle might be our own attitudes towards them, right? And their potential. Like maybe we need to just see the best in them. As the philosopher Goethe once said, give people a good reputation to live into. People tend to act the way we tend to see them. So if we see the best in them, then we're doing the best we can to help support a better outcome in the situation. And one of our things should be our own expectations. We shouldn't expect that every client has an easy personality, because I think all of us would kind of be cream puffs if they were. Like, having clients with difficult personalities helps us develop greater skills in getting along with people, right? It keeps us on our toes a bit. So like when you've got a difficult client, you got to stay sharp, because if you're late for a session by 10 seconds, they're already pointing at their watch, aren't they? Has anyone had anyone like that? It's like, you're 5 seconds late. Like, those kind of people can keep us on our toes. Okay, so now the next question would be, what are the possible solutions? So we can run experiments on how to win them over, right? We can get them talking about the stuff they like. This client loved talking about the Mickey Mouse Club show, that old black and white TV show. Has anyone here heard of the Mickey Mouse Club show? They were on the show once when they were a kid. So I would throw on my phone some old episodes to just watch little snippets in our rest intervals. And this would keep the client like laughing, joking around, almost thinking like we were being bad, that we were getting away with watching Mickey Mouse Club in our rest intervals. But that's what it took to kind of get this client excited about being in their sessions, right? We can also try to be their biggest fan. One of the things I do with every client is I try to figure out, like, what are 10 things I appreciate about this person? And I actually make a list. And I try to be a detective at figuring out what I like about them. And I don't have any stats or studies to show you on this, but I feel like they can sense a change in us when we change how we see them. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, as Dr. Wayne Dyer once said. So I feel like every single client that we might have disharmony with, that if we can come up with 10 things we like about them, the problem already starts to solve itself. Okay. What should we do? We can also what are other possible solutions? Start off each session doing something that gets them to laugh. And then we go into the next question. The final question is, what should we do next? What should we do next? If we haven't already, we should try to find common areas of interest. If we haven't already, we should figure out their personality type and try to harmonize with it. How many people are familiar with the DISC personality profiling system? Just put up your hands if you're familiar with the DISC system, DISC. Okay, just a couple people. All right, so in this case, this individual was a type D personality. Type D personalities are the minority in personality types, but they always like to feel like they're in control. So they have a real challenge taking orders from people. And so they kind of give you token pushback on anything. Has anyone ever coached anyone like that? They just kind of give you pushback. It's almost like a reflex. Show of hands. Yeah, so you've probably trained a type D client, right? So the thing with type D clients is they respond best to choices. So if you give them a choice close, they feel like they're in control, right? So I might say to them this, I might say, okay, we're going to do lunges next. And if they were to say, oh, I hate lunges, I'd say, okay, we can do lunges and get good results, or I can get you to just use the hula hoop in the corner like a circus clown if you want, right? So it's up to you. What do you pick? Right? So you can give them choice closes and have them choose the thing that you wanted them to do in the first place is a way to harmonize with them. Okay. So I had a client who was like, and this client in particular, he didn't like switching up his routine. And sometimes you need to progress the exercises. So he's like, I don't want to change the exercises. And I'd say, you have the choice. We can keep the exercises the same all the time and get diminishing returns, or you can allow me to give you the next logical progression and get a greater return on your investment. It's up to you. You have the choice. And then you say, okay, progress the exercise. right? But that's a good way to harmonize with that personality type, is always give them choices. And that way they always feel like they're in control. So, and then another thing we could do is we could just treat this whole thing as an educational experience designed to awaken our higher potential to harmonize with other people. So we could also look at it that way. And then when we look at it that way, it becomes kind of like an exciting experiment when this person shows up. Okay. So, and in this case, I'm giving you an actual situation. This client I did have referred from physio. I was told they were a problem client. I ended up training them for years, and they were like my best client. They were literally like so gracious, so funny, so wise. And, but they had a reputation for being a complete jerk to everybody except me. Like, to me, they were just like, we totally got along and everything else. But I approached it by doing these questions the minute I got the client, and I was able to figure out a way to get along with them and get their respect like right away. Okay. And then after that, it was more than worth it. And everybody loved when this client showed up. He went from being like somebody who came in like a Scrooge from A Christmas Story to being like everybody's favorite rock star client when they showed up. So I trained him for years until he ended up moving away. But yeah, it was literally like taking a case of somebody who at the outset might have seemed like they were going to be your worst client and ended up becoming best client. Okay. So now, after unpacking all of those perspectives and looking at it that way, if you're to score this again on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rescore where that would be now when you take into mind all of these different things, how it's an opportunity for you to grow your skills, how it might turn out to be a good thing in the end, how even though it's uncomfortable, this can lead to inner growth and progress for you as an individual. So rescore it on a scale of 1 to 10. How heavy does this weight feel now? And just write down what your number would be on a scale of 1 to 10 right now. Okay, how many people here by show of hands lowered the perceived stress on this one? Yeah, pretty much everybody, right? So what we're doing here, that's really the essence of problem powerlifting. In addition to lifting just the weights in our life to get better as fitness professionals, we also want to lift the weight of the stresses that keep us from being our best self and being most present with our clients and everything else. Now, this one was kind of like a lighter weight problem, but what I'd like to do now is transition into a problem that's probably going to be a bit heavier, but something we can all relate to. Okay, does that sound good to everybody? Okay, so here's what we want to do next. Let's just imagine, all right, that you've been having some struggles with losing clients due to, perhaps the pandemic and people's concerns about health risks and comfort level with going to the gym and pro versus anti-vaccine passports and mask mandates and everything else. I want you to just imagine that you've been having some struggles with losing clients, and that is the stress or challenge. How many people can relate to this? Right? Pretty much. Okay, good. This is a relevant problem that affects us all. So we're all going to lift this together. Okay. So I want you to score this right now. How heavy is this problem? Scale of 1 to 10. And then what I want you to do is I want you to write down all of the answers we come up with, because this is a problem that may come back to you again and again in your professional career. And you want to have the answers at your fingertips, because these perspectives are going to give you power. Okay. So write down your score, scale of 1 to 10. And just know that I do want you to write down your answers and keep them for yourself and keep them in your toolbox, because this is a season in our career. And just like life, careers have their seasons. Sometimes there's like summer harvest and sometimes there's winter. And so we want to know what perspectives are going to serve us best in this type of a situation. Okay. So let's first go into, we're going to try to lift the stress of this problem. The first question we're going to ask is, why should we be grateful? Why should we be grateful? Now, I want you to write down as many things as you can think of right now. Why should we be grateful for this problem? Working as a personal trainer, and we've been losing clients lately. Why should we be grateful? And I'll give you some prompters as you do this. You know, is it possible that maybe a bad day in personal training is still better than a good day in most other professions, right? Maybe it's still an enjoyable job and you still get the opportunity to improve people's lives, right? Maybe that's why we could be grateful. Maybe, is it possible it could be good to have slower seasons of work so you can focus on your business rather than being too busy in your business? Is that something we should be grateful for? Actually having a season like this where we can zoom out and focus on the business? Also, can this motivate you to be the best you can be at your job, to secure steady income so that you're always in demand so you can develop better word of mouth reputation? Can this give you that motivational impetus? Maybe we should be grateful for that. It's uncomfortable, but it's going to drive us to better ourselves, because wisdom itself can be the best form of security professionally. And if we use this as an opportunity to level up our wisdom, we have more to offer people, more solutions and perspectives, right? Also, you know, do slow seasons of work, free up time so you can devote yourself to self-improvement initiatives like reading books, taking courses, maybe job shadowing other trainers, or taking each other through workouts to learn different styles, or maybe even taking on the odd pro bono case study client. Like, can this be used as an opportunity to devote yourself to self-improvement initiatives? Maybe that's an opportunity to be grateful too, right? And if we keep improving more and more, eventually, is it possible you'll be so good and in such high demand that unstable income won't even be a problem or concern anymore? Is it possible you can reach that point when you become the highest potential version of you? And isn't it uncomfortable moments like this that drive us to want to get out of this uncomfortable situation by being a better version of ourselves? Also, does this problem motivate you to become more efficient in budgeting? And maybe that's a skill set that will benefit your life in the long term. To become more efficient at budgeting, right? I was reading somewhere that millennials spend more money on takeout coffee than they do on their retirement plans. That the average millennial spends $3 a day on coffee and like $1, if that, on retirement plans. Something to think about, right? And you know, why else should we be grateful? How about this? As much as we might not like this, does this give us the opportunity to strengthen aspects of our character, like our patience, right? And if we want to be more successful in the long term, will we need more patience? Does it help us strengthen our sense of creativity and resourcefulness? And if we want to go further in life, won't we need more creativity and resourcefulness? And does it strengthen our humility? That maybe we're not as good as we thought and there's an opportunity to be better. And just being self-honest about that can be a good foundation for self-improvement moving forward. Right? So maybe there's a really good opportunity to strengthen aspects of our character. So that's why should we be grateful? Why should we be grateful for this moment in our career? Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that? And I encourage you to write down anything and everything you can, because when you read this stuff over, it balances your perspective and it can get you out of the dumps.
The week after.
Oh,
Brandon, I love the fact that you kind of related it to like the highs and lows of the in-season and off-season. Like in my brain, there's always kind of two sine curves to the PT business, and there's a time to be really busy and there's a time to step back, relax, and zoom out and educate yourself.
Love it. Love it. Excellent share, Jamie. And I remember for myself, early in my career, summer tended to be a slow season for me because clients were always going away on vacation in the summer. And I'd always get excited. Like I'd have my books and courses lined up that I was going to do in the summer, every summer, because I'm like, I have more time between clients because more of my clients are away. And I actually got excited about it. I'm like, this happens every summer, every August. It was like literally August, all my clients go away. And I would also plan my vacations at that time too. So I planned my vacations and self-improvement at that time. Love it.
Nothing better than sitting on the dock and reading and nerding out on vacation. My wife hates me for it and she tells me to relax, but that is relaxing, you know?
Absolutely. You owe it to yourself. It's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. Okay. Now question 2. Now question 1 is very important, and it's very important to start with that one. Because once you start with why should I be grateful, you're acknowledging to yourself that there's good in every bad situation. And that immediately calms your state of mind so that you can be more creative when we get into more of the problem solving stuff later on. Okay, so there's a strategy, just like a recipe, things have to be done in a certain order. But once we say, why should I be grateful? It presupposes that there's something to be grateful for within this challenge. Okay. Now, and I can tell you this, if I didn't have slow seasons early in my career, I would not have developed the skills that helped me have breakthrough success later on in my career. If I could go back in time, I would not take away those slow periods when I was still developing. I wouldn't change a thing. I'd be like, you know what? I will take a short-term financial hit because when you think long-term, as long as I approach this with the right attitude, I'm going to make way more and be way more successful and be able to help way more people in the long term because of these opportunities to reflect on and zoom out on the business, right? Okay, let's go on to problem powerlifter question number 2. How are things not as bad as they seem? How are things not as bad as they seem? I want you to start writing out as many ideas as you can. How is this not as bad as they seem? Okay. For example, this isn't going to last forever, this season with the pandemic and everything else, right? Eventually, we're going to be on the other side of this thing. No pandemic in human history has ever lasted. They've all reached a time limit, all of them, right? Also, do other people struggle with this type of problem? Yes or no? Do other people struggle with this? Yes. And that means that there is a whole buffet of answers out there and solutions across all industries. We're not even the only industry that's had to deal with this. That means that if you go looking for it, other people have been through this and come out the other end, and they have solutions, wisdom, and guidance to help you navigate best through this part of your journey. That is really encouraging to know. This is not a unique human problem. All you have to do is be motivated enough and put in the effort to find the perspectives that will help you find your way out of this, right? Also, we live in a country, we live in Canada. If you don't make money, doesn't the government step in and give you assistance and just give you money for free? Right? Like we live in a country that does that. Like we have a safety net. It's called the government. Like back in earlier human history for thousands and thousands of years, people didn't have that. You're out on your own, right? If you can't, find your own way to eat and feed yourself, you're out on your own. Here we have a safety net, right? And the government's proved that time and time again. So also, how's it not as bad as it seems? Okay, we lose income when we lose clients. I get that. But isn't it also possible that when we gain clients, we gain income? And that any day we can always gain new clients, right? I know every week, and I've been in the industry for 20 years, every week I get new messages on my phone from people through word of mouth or people that I haven't talked to in a long time that are looking to connect with me for training. I don't have to do anything. I've just been in the industry so long, word of mouth, that I can always gain new clients just not doing anything. If you stick it out long enough and if you show your value long enough, right? So that can always happen any day. Somebody can reach out to you. Multiple people can reach out to you any day. So it's not as bad as it seems. Also, think about this. I want you to imagine you had all the same original clients you started out with in your career, and there was no new ones. What would be the worst possible outcomes of having to have the same original clients from your past the whole journey of your career? Wouldn't things get a little bit boring or stagnant? Like, isn't client turnover part of what keeps it refreshing and new and exciting because you have new challenges to solve, new obstacles, new personalities to harmonize with, right? You get to learn about new perspectives on life from people from diverse backgrounds, right? Like this adds to the flavor. Client turnover is absolutely a positive in our career. I'm glad that there's client turnover. It would be so boring if it was just the same, 15 people for 20 years, right? Like this is actually a good, refreshing thing to have. There are positives to it. New conversations, you learn new things, you have different experiences. It helps you round out your skill set because you'll get clients that have knee problems. Then maybe later on you get turnover. You get clients with ankle problems. You get some turnover, clients with shoulder problems. You start to build up a more robust toolbox. So how are things not as bad as they seem? You want to write down as many perspectives as you can so you can look back on this and review this when you go through it, because you don't want to sink into that mental darkness of hopelessness and despair and everything else. Anyone else have any thoughts on how are things not as bad as they seem? All right. So let's go on to question 3. Question 3 is, how am I responsible? Okay. This is a powerful question that we should always ask ourselves whenever we have a problem, stress, or challenge. Because one of the ways to make things worse always is to pretend to be a victim. It always makes things worse. We want to own our own responsibility in any situation as much as we can. Not to undermine when people truly are a victim and, obviously all due respect to that. But a lot of times we act like we are when we do have responsibility in a situation, especially in our career, right? So we want to be able to get past that. So here's some things to think about. How am I responsible? I want you to think about everything you can on this. Everything you can. For example, number 1, am I being totally efficient with my time right now? Could I be more efficient and do more things that help me be a better person, and maybe less procrastinating, and maybe less low quality time, just flipping through social media or watching stupid TV, or low quality social time, hanging out with people talking about the same dumb stuff every time, right? Like, could we learn to say no better to other things that are taking up our time, right? So how am I responsible? You could even do an efficiency audit on your life. Just like food journaling, write down everything you do in a week and what kinds of things are moving you forward, scale of 1 to 10, score it. And what things are actually like holding you back, right? Maybe you're exposing yourself to some negative influences. Maybe you're hanging out with people that are just like give you mental junk food. Like they just like complain and stuff, and it kind of gets to you. And then you start to absorb their thought habits, right? So maybe we're exposing ourselves to negative influences that are making us feel more hopeless about things, right? So maybe we're responsible because we've been indulging in unresourceful mood states. So maybe instead of thinking about solutions, we keep thinking about the problem. And that doesn't really help us move forward. In that way, we are responsible for how things are right now. Because if we're stuck in problem-focused thinking instead of solution-focused thinking, historically, that just makes things worse. We're just doubling down on the negative, right? So rather than complaining, despair, and hopelessness, maybe we can start thinking about the solutions, how we can be more grateful, where we can take responsibility, and we can get strategic with this. Because right now, this is the battle of your life. Your stresses are the battle of your life. And we want to be able to turn that pain into power by using these questions. This is how you think with good form. And you want to do this for all the weights in your life, and you want to take this seriously, right? Just as we teach people, it's important to have good form and exercise so you get results and you avoid unnecessary aches and pains. We all need to have good form in our thinking so we get results and we avoid unnecessary aches and pains. And we need to see the value of that. So maybe that's how we can be responsible. We can pay more attention to our thinking form and then correct ourselves or ask somebody to spot us. Be like, hey, if you ever see me just like thinking in a negative circle, call me out, man. Help me correct my form, right? We can get spotters just like in anything, right? So Also, I would say this, could we have applied more effort to overcoming this? Have you really given it your absolute best? Have you really put in a 10 out of 10 effort to overcoming this? Or has it just been a half-hearted effort? We just kind of complain, we don't like it, but we're not up all night chugging pots of coffee trying to figure this thing out, right? And I'm going to tell you that in my career, what I did was I would do that. If there was a problem, stress, or a challenge, I'd be like, right now, this is the most important thing in my life, because if I don't lift this, it will weigh me down for months. So I would treat it like an urgent project in school, and I would put pen to paper with these questions. And then immediately I would have the wisdom, perspective, and the game plan to overcome whatever it was that was holding me back in my personal training career. And I would encourage you to take the same path, because the people I know that didn't do stuff like that ended up not having as much fun and not being as good of a version of themselves as they could have been. So that's going to be one of your challenges in your journey, is to take that side of things seriously, the mental fitness. Okay, so that's how am I responsible? And maybe we could have seen this coming. Maybe we should have prepared. Maybe we should have beefed up for more virtual training, or more training with less equipment, and people workouts they could do from home. If they're unsafe with coming to the gym, and planning out more resources on that. Maybe we could have planned in advance for situations like this, and maybe that's how we're responsible. Maybe we could have been more prudent. Who knows? So anyway, write down as many things as you can for how am I responsible? As many things as you can. We could have even asked more people. We all know somebody who's been in this industry longer and has been through seasons like this, and we could just ask them, hey, what do you do when it's the winter season in fitness? When clients aren't coming in as much? How do you make the best use of that season? Right? And we're all going to talk about that as we continue this discussion. So, number 4, we need to get on the radar. What are all the obstacles? What are all the obstacles? For example, an obstacle could be a mindset that your clients have, or your potential clients have. Maybe they think things aren't very safe right now, and they have some unrealistic fears. And maybe we just need to alleviate that and provide them some information to put them at ease. So maybe that's one of the things that's getting in our way. Maybe there's some obstacles with quality of service. Maybe there's an opportunity to add more value. And that's one of our obstacles. We're just not adding as much value as we can. Maybe we're good at like fat loss, but maybe we're not as good at getting people out of aches and pains. And maybe if we were more skilled in that dimension, that we have more to offer our clients, because aches and pains come all the time, especially with people sitting all the time these days, right? So maybe we can think about how to round out our services to have more to offer. Maybe we can specialize in training people for running now that the weather's getting nicer, or cycling, and add a few specialized skill sets into our offerings, right? Maybe our obstacles are maybe we have too many commitments and too many hobbies that are taking up our time, right? So Warren Buffett and Bill Gates have said that the number one, in one word, what helped them be most successful was focus. Focus was the number one thing that helped them be most successful. And Warren Buffett would say to all of you right now, Warren Buffett would say, write down the 24 things you want to achieve in the next time period. Okay? He would say, write down the 24 things you want to achieve. Okay? Whether it's, you want to be able to win the championship in your league bowling, whether you want to, learn to play the guitar, whether you want to, add 5 pounds of muscle, whether you want to, take some educational course, whatever it is. Okay. Then out of that list, you pick the 5 things that are most important to you. The 5 things that are most important to you. And now you have 2 lists. You have the 5 things that you must do, and all the rest, the other 19, you want to label that category avoid at all costs. That's what they say. They say successful people know how to say no to more things than unsuccessful people. So they get pulled into too many like social commitments they don't have to be at, too many time wasting things, right? So perhaps there's an opportunity to see some of the obstacles in the things we're saying yes to that are kind of holding us back from evolving. So maybe there's some opportunities there, something to think about. Maybe our obstacles are our own unconscious incompetence, right? We all have blind spots, areas we could be better. Maybe we could benefit from a reality check and maybe speaking to somebody who knows us well and get some good feedback on how we can be better. And a good way to do that is this. This comes from Sheila Heen. She's an expert on the subject. Approach somebody and say, hey, look, I know there's probably a list of things I could be doing better. Can you just give me one thing off that list? That's the best way to ask for feedback, because then you're letting people know that you acknowledge that there are opportunities to be better. Because most of the time when people say, can you give me feedback, they're actually fishing for compliments. And so when people give them feedback, they get upset and defensive and make excuses and stuff. So if you ask in that way, you're more likely to get breakthrough wisdom and see some of your own blind spots on where you're not perfect yet, right? They might say, hey, you could be more punctual with your clients. If your clients, if you're 5 to 10 minutes consistently, your clients really notice that and they don't feel valued. Or, maybe it's maybe mix up your workouts a little bit more, whatever it is. Anyway, we can always figure out how we can get some clear perspective on where we can be better, because we all suffer from our own unconscious incompetence. We all don't know what we don't know we're not doing perfect yet, okay? So that's figuring out what are the obstacles. Now, number 5 is what help and resources are available. What help and resources are available if we've been losing clients, right? Is there a mentor you could speak to? Maybe someone in the industry you could speak to. Maybe there's a coach. Maybe you could speak to your manager about it. Hey, I'm wondering if you can help me with some empowering perspective on this situation. I've been losing clients. What is your success formula for me if I'm in this situation? Maybe you can speak to colleagues. What are some of them doing? How have they gotten through this season best? Maybe you can get some feedback or advice. Maybe you can just go online and Google it. Maybe you can read books on it. I've done both, by the way. I'm going to try to simplify everything necessary I've learned from doing research on this subject for you, but maybe there's new information that's come out. So what help and resources are available? There's always help and resources available, so we should always be encouraged about that. We should always be excited, especially in this modern age where you can literally over the internet connect across the world and across, time and space and just see what kind of solutions are out there. Okay. Now we're going to go into number 6. What are all the possible solutions? What are all the possible solutions? This is one of the most important points. Okay? And I want you to write down for yourself personally. I want you to write down what you can do here. How can you take advantage of this time and maximize some of your core competencies and specialize further in the things you do best? Maybe you prepare people for fitness shows. Maybe you can get more skills and more experience and perspective on that. Maybe you specialize in powerlifting. Maybe you can use this, and in your off time, you can do more research and training and experimentation with different protocols, right? Maybe you like getting people out of aches and pains, and you can learn more skills on that right now, right? Here's another question. How can you provide exceptional service and go the extra mile for your current clients? For your current clients, can you do an event together with your clients? Right? I did a volleyball tournament with my clients at one point. Got them all together. We had a blast. My clients came up with the team name. It was the Foxy Ladies. We had like a logo of like a lady fox with eyelashes holding the ball, just because there was more women than men, and they outvoted all the men just to have this really kind of cute feminine logo and stuff. Anyway, maybe we can do a 5K run alongside some of our clients, right? And you can prepare clients to do that together. I've done that with my clients as well. They love it. They'll tell everybody about it. They'll be like, my trainer was running alongside me and everything else. Maybe we can do a healthy grocery shopping trip with clients, or a group social, or go on a group nature walk or hike. Just pick a Sunday and just pick like a conservation area and just have whatever clients can make it show up and just give more value. Get them talking about you more. Be more than just a trainer, right? Maybe you can share healthy recipes amongst your clients. Ask everybody for their favorite healthy recipe. You can put them together, share them with everybody. make smoothies together, all kinds of things. I want you to think about how you can go the extra mile for your current clients and have fun doing it. I found that whenever I did these things, it was always a really fun way to spend my free time doing these kinds of things with clients. Okay. So that's something you can think about. Or, how might you tempt new business with new service offerings or promotions? Okay. One of the things I had my wife do, she was a personal trainer, and she had just started. And after 3 months, I told her, I said, try this play. Tell clients about the Accelerated Results Program. Okay. Be like, hey, have I told you about the Accelerated Results Program? Then explain to them it works like this. You have some free time in your schedule right now. Everybody knows that when you work out with the trainer, you do a better workout. So all you have to do to be on the Accelerated Results Program is book an additional session with me each week. Okay. That's it. That's the Accelerated Results Program. She did this with all 10 of her clients. All 10 said yes. And she won the Personal Training Efficiency Award for her region. Okay. I never did that. I never had that kind of success with that. I made this whole thing up and I never had that kind of success. I told her, I said, you already did better than me. I thought you might get 2 or 3. You got all 10. That's crazy. Right. But that's a new service offering. So you can be creative with it. You come up with new names and tell clients and be like, if there's friends or family you want to get involved, I'm going to prepare a group of people to do a 10K run. We're all going to do it together. We're going to do the weight training piece, stretching and flexibility, the cardio, blah, blah, blah. So you can tempt new business with new service offerings or promotions. Maybe you can target different demographics of people. Who might you target? Maybe younger people, maybe older people, people in a specific sport that you're passionate about, people in a particular geographical region you can go and speak to, right? So something to think about. You could also think about, instead of losing clients, maybe having a smaller bucket to put them into. So this was something I did. If clients couldn't meet me every week, I made a once a month program where they come in and they train with me once a month. And I set up a new program and just do some basic fitness testing. And I just charged them 2 personal training sessions for that once a month session so that I could keep people, I could put them into a smaller bucket instead of losing them all together. Right? So you might think about, how might I do that? Right? We could also think about, maybe I can budget better to reduce financial pressure. How can I budget better to reduce financial pressure? Maybe instead of buying books, I can go to the library. Maybe I can eat out less often. Maybe I can eat tuna and cottage cheese for protein instead of steak, right? There's some cheap protein options on there. Maybe do an alcohol-free month to cut back on alcohol. Maybe go buy discounted clothes and items. I know a trainer that was going to Value Village and just getting secondhand clothes for the first 6 months and nobody knew. They're spending $5 or $10 on pants and stuff like that. Right? So, and then if you're thinking about how to budget, here's some things to consider. Am I spending more than 25% on rent? Am I spending more than 25% of my income on rent? If so, then it's out of proportion. Okay, so I'd encourage you to ask yourself that. Am I spending more than 10% of my net income on entertainment? If so, it's too much. Am I spending more than 5% on vacations? If so, it's too much, right? And ideally, you want to look at spending about 10 to 25% on personal growth, because wisdom is your best investment. So those are some basic budgeting parameters to have, okay? And so those are some solutions we can think about. Write down anything and everything that applies to you. You want to brainstorm this up for yourself so that you have so many different things you can consider here, okay? So many different things to consider. Now, another thing is, next question, number 7, what should we do? What should we do? So this is where we have very specific action steps now. We just take a look at everything we did, make some specific action steps. 1, I'm booking my vacations on the slow times when clients don't need me as much, so I don't miss as much work. So when I vacation, it's when all my clients are vacationing, right? Maybe I can, number 2, I might say, maybe I use slower time to take care of myself better. Maybe I do my dentist appointments and cleaning and organizing around the house and researching opportunities and other self-care initiatives now that I have more time. Maybe I can use this free time to connect more with friends and loved ones and meet up with people and go for some walks outdoors, right? Since I'm not as busy working, maybe I can build more of my online or social media presence on TikTok, Instagram, whatever that might be, and divert more of my, maybe a website. Maybe I can start getting strategic on collecting testimonials. Something to think about. And then I think another one that's most important of all is to remember my why. So it's very easy in moments like this to get discouraged about our journey. And it's important to remember why you got into this profession in the first place. And I want you to write that down. Why did you decide to do this in the first place? We need to remember your why. You know? And I'll give you some prompters. Is this a new and growing industry? Yes. Doesn't that make it kind of exciting? And those who are sticking it out are going to be like the pioneers of phase 2 of personal training in modern human history. Like we're all going to be bonded in that, going through this shared challenge together. Another thing, do you get to make meaningful connections with other people in this job? Yeah, of course you do. Like there's other jobs like paramedic where maybe you help somebody, but you don't get to make a meaningful connection after the fact. Like you just meet people briefly and help them and that's it. Here we get to become more of a part of their story and their narrative. Are the job challenges stimulating and interesting? Right? We get all kinds of different challenges, mental and physical, with clients. It's like fun problem solving, right? It's kind of like a party game, right? Does this kind of a career provide an opportunity for ongoing learning and skill development? Absolutely, right? Very few jobs kind of have it to the same wide open degree we do in fitness, because you can specialize and learn about so many dimensions of people, eating, healthy lifestyle, various forms of exercise and exercise tools, various forms of motivation. There's so much you can keep learning about, right? And can you meet your basic income needs in this profession? You know, studies show that as long as you can make 70,000 in a profession, that at that point, people reach their maximum level of happiness, and they don't tend to increase happiness anymore incrementally after that. So if you can hit 70K in your profession, then you're going to meet all of the realistic financial needs you have to have in order to be as happy as you can without finances being too much of a distraction. Okay? Can you have a really fulfilling life in this profession? Imagine you did this for the rest of your life. How many people you'd be able to help? How many fulfilling experiences you'd have? How many people would say, I'm so much happier because Colin came into my life and helped me see things different, or Mike came into my life and helped me believe in myself and helped me keep up with my kids again and get young and fit, right? So does this job also motivate you to be at your best, to set a good example? So it creates good personal accountability as well, right? We have tons of opportunity for creative expression. You know, you get to leave your unique mark on the industry and so many lives and the people you interact with. There's flexible work hours. If there's something really important, you can always move your clients around. Like, not many jobs have that, right? There's also very fun, motivated people. There's so many jobs where everyone's just rigid and negative. Like so many professions here, everyone's generally really happy to be here, right? And there's so much variety. Like every client is just a puzzle to be solved. So, and you get to work in an adult playground. Like just open that door and look around. That's an adult playground, right? And basically all of you get to hang out in your pajamas. Like your work clothes, instead of it being tight, stuffy dress clothes, you're hanging out in your PJs all day. Like how cool of an opportunity is that, right? You know, we're not living in a war-torn country. There's no risk with it. It's not like you're working in a coal mine and things might cave in on you. Like you're not working as a police officer and putting yourself in danger. Like this is a very safe profession, right? And you get to have so much creative opportunities to express your unique self. So write down all the reasons why you're happy to be in this profession and remind yourself of that. Okay. And remind yourself of why you're a good match for this. Like maybe you have a passion for learning and fitness and health. Awesome. That makes you a good match. Maybe you have good people skills. that makes you a good match. Maybe you have passion for this type of content. Maybe you enjoy working with people. Maybe you're creative, adaptive, positive. Write down all the reasons you're a good match. And then take a look at all this stuff and ask yourself, is this unique opportunity in all of human history to be a personal trainer at this time in human history? Is this a unique opportunity that's worth sticking it out when times get tough? Right? Is this worth facing some of our fears and doubts at times? Is this worth investing ourselves and giving it our best shot to become our best selves? Is this worth just putting all of ourselves into this and going full out? Because the better attitude you have towards this profession, the more likely you are to do the right things to succeed. And if you do the right things to succeed, you're going to have a lot more fun and you're going to have more success. Attitudes lead to actions. So if you can discipline yourself to have good form in your attitude, you will naturally have good form in taking the right actions to succeed and become stronger because of times like this. That's what Problem Powerlifter is all about. It's turning your pain into power. And you don't just do it for this, you do it for anything in life. That's the essence of mental toughness. So the situation we're all facing right now in this unique time for our industry is that, this situation offers a powerful combo of desperation and drive, which are both vital qualities for any successful person to refine their craft. Right? This can be a privilege, not a problem. And this can be happening for you, not to you. So this can be an educational experience designed to awaken your higher potential. All right. So now I want you to just take into account everything we've said, score it 1 to 10. How stressful is this now on a scale of 1 to 10? And if you look at it more as an opportunity and a privilege rather than a problem, then just give it a lower score. How many people here, by show of hands, were able to lift the weight of their problem? All right, pretty much everybody. Perfect. Well done. So I want to encourage you to use this moving forward. Whenever there's a problem, stress, or challenge, practice doing it daily, just like you'd practice technique and exercise. Give yourself, as a gift to yourself, practice doing this once a day for 7 days in a row. If there's a problem, stress, or challenge, take yourself through the 7 questions, rep it out to fatigue, and see for yourself how fulfilling it is to do this with your life and your career, and to be able to turn pain into power. Because like I said, problems in life don't ever stop. So developing the skill at overcoming life's problems is probably one of the most useful things you can do and commit yourself to. And right now, as we discussed, we all have more time for that. So there's not really any excuse. Okay, everybody, it has been an honor and a pleasure to hang out with you all today. I just want you to consider me a friend that's going to be here to support all of you in your journey, because we all have a common mission. We're all here to be a force for good. That's why we're in this profession. When you help people to eat better and think better and move better, you make the world a better place. So I honor all of you in your journey. I've been where you're at. I know what it's like. And